This is an overpass over Interstate 5 in Vancouver, Washington. Downtown Vancouver is that way. And I'm in a residential neighborhood. Actually, two of them. I just left Rosemere, as we call it, or Rose Village. Head that Shumway, I believe. And I'm going to walk through there really quickly, and then I'm going to show more of Vancouver. So this is still Shumway, and these are big, leafy green trees forming an arch over quiet residential streets. Nice neighborhood. And this is one of the neighborhoods of Vancouver that's probably pre-World War II. During World War II, to meet the needs of shipbuilding and other war industries, Vancouver got a lot larger. But if you look at these houses, most of them probably predate that, and then the ones that don't are probably replacements. And so this is kind of like old Vancouver. And Vancouver expanded greatly after World War II, so most of it looks quite different than this. The main way you know a house is pre-World War II is that it doesn't have a garage included. And so you can see that one that we just saw didn't. This one does have a garage, and you can see that's a more recent addition. So at some point they probably replaced an old house or an old business with a house with a garage. Probably that one was in the past 20 or 30 years. Yeah, and this wasn't even the main point, but I did want to point that out. And there we have a small apartment complex, and most of this is residential, so we're pretty close into the center of town, and it's a combination of residential, low to maybe medium density. And a lot of this to me is interesting because, like, we always make jokes about the couve, and there's a certain sensibility to that, a certain, upper working class, lower middle class sensibility to the couve. But in reality, when you actually look at the infrastructure and at the housing and at what the neighborhoods look like, well, that's what we're doing. How much of that is a real stereotype? But yeah, a mixture of duplexes, and then you see some really fancy old residential buildings along here, and it can sometimes change in a couple blocks. And here we've reached Main Street, which here actually is the Main Street. Of course, that's not always the case, but here it actually is. And this also is kind of a big arterial street that kind of breaks up the residential tranquility. So does that leaf blower. And we're going to be walking along Main Street here. So this intersection here actually separates four neighborhoods. There's Shumway, other side is Carter Park, and then Hough, or Who, I don't actually know how to pronounce, and Arnada. And there's Walgreens. I used to work at Walgreens in Chile. Fire department, by the way. And so we're going to walk along this road because this is where residential ends, and we're going to go into a more commercial and arts and entertainment district, Uptown Vancouver, which is in two neighborhoods. And just like in Portland and other places, sometimes they give a neighborhood designation, but people might, I don't think many people are like, yeah, I'm from Carter Park. Sometimes those neighborhood designations match the neighborhoods that people identify with, sometimes not. You can also see there we have a new apartment building. Housing is all as good, or almost all as good. So Portland area, including Vancouver, has a housing crisis. Vancouver prices are a little bit cheaper, but like at this point it's like 10% cheaper. Medium home value is $450,000 instead of $550,000 or something like that. So this is housing developments, apartment developments. Don't know if that is somehow subsidized or if that's market value or a mixture of both. But Vancouver has changed, and sometimes the joke is it doesn't change, but things have changed, and a lot of that's in response to housing crisis and stuff like that that's going on right now. So this neighborhood is changing. And I talked about this in my Salem video along with other videos. Areas like this often become centers for professional offices, especially medical professional offices, and that's certainly the case here, as a lot of these older buildings have been converted into medical offices, and some of them have been specially built as medical offices, so there's clinics and stuff. Also a lot of lawyers and accountants along here, and a lot of different things. It's actually a very mixed neighborhood as far as its usage. So I'm going to cross the street here. So this road that we were on, you noticed earlier on it separated, there was like a why. So here, I'm going to go see the parallel street next block over, because I believe this street might be more fun. That street was important, nice residential buildings, offices, but let's go where the party is. That's kind of our motto, right? And right there, yeah, there we have an H&R Block office, kind of definition of where the party is. So I'm actually going to walk back this way a couple blocks to see what's along here. So there we have a bar with pride flags. I don't know if that's specifically a gay bar, if it's just saying it's friendly, but this is still Vancouver enough that across the street we have a gas station selling kratom. A food cart, kombucha tap room, townhouses, Main Street marijuana. I could actually make a video about that. I did that in Corvallis. I could do that here. Cannabis is legal here. Actually, this is one of the first states to adopt legal cannabis. Also one of the first states to adopt illegal cannabis. I grew up here in the 90s. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I could say more about it, but a lot of it would be ill-founded. And here, we have a sculpture. And by pure coincidence, like, I actually know the guy who made this sculpture because he also used to be glowing fish on LiveJournal. Yeah, Matthew Dockery. And so we both chose the same name, and we both actually have the same name. And also, I think we don't like each other. I'm not sure about that. I can't remember who hated me and who I hated on LiveJournal anymore, but I think we were enemies. I actually met that guy and his dog on the bus yesterday, and then I saw them again. See, that's the definition of community. Running into random people on the streets. To put that more seriously, though, so Vancouver has a reputation of being super suburban, strody, big box stores, and you've probably seen some of that in my videos. But one of the reasons I think that this is kind of like Vancouver's take on new urbanism, and it feels that way. Now, I don't know how much that actually impacts the community, stuff like that, because, you know, most people in Vancouver are still living a pretty suburban lifestyle, but it did kind of change things to have a neighborhood like this. So kind of in Portland terms, if you're from Portland, this is a little bit like Hawthorne and Ladd's Addition, an old residential neighborhood that at one time was cheap and brought a lot of small businesses and then started getting expensive. Only it was kind of did that on purpose. And across the street, we have, you know, we're getting closer to downtown. There's one other business I do want to check out before I continue on my way.
Traveling south.
I like comics. Well, so do I. So I'm going to go in there and see what type of comics they have. And that's I would say it's a new business, but I think that's 15 years old now. But still kind of new to me because it's part of the revitalization that started here about 15 years ago. I got some good stuff for me. 50-cent bins. They have really good 50-cent bins there. Now, it might not be the most relevant. There's a record store as well. That might be the most relevant thing to know about this experiment in new urbanism and community revitalization. But it is, to me, actually, it is somewhat relevant that, like, yeah, you can find some good stuff here. Kind of, you know, there's record stores, comic book stores, a lot of interesting restaurants. It is kind of lively. So I'm about to go and get on a bus going north. And so the one thing I will say is I like all of this. I like the attempt, the heavy issue of like how much making like a cute little district to like, you know, do your hipster shopping in, you know, really deals with things like we're in a housing crisis and, you know, what does that do for the community? I don't know. It's a Monday morning. I just want to read comics. But this is some evidence of what this neighborhood, Arnada and Hough neighborhoods, Uptown Village in Vancouver, Washington, is like. So I hope it is informative and enjoyable. One final note on that. I'm waiting for the buses 15-minute frequencies, which is pretty good frequencies for, you know, a suburban town in the U.S. But this area is going to have a BRT line. There are two operating BRT lines in Vancouver, Fourth Plain and Mill Plain. And this will be the one going north, but I don't know because I don't see construction, so that might still be in its planning phases. And it will be interesting to see how BRT works into that type of revitalization or whatever you call it of the community. But that's for a while. For now, all you need to know is kombucha and comic books.